first of all, this may not be a very popular opinion here.
Oh, you're starting with this, huh?
Season 1 doesn't paint Robin as the bad guy. I'll just say that. We'll get more into it.
These three wives, Mary and Janelle and Christine, it seems like they have it together. They have it figured out. It seems like Cody has it figured out.
Right.
And they've cracked the code on polygamy.
Right. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I grew up in the FLDS community. It is a polygamous group run by Warren Jeffs, and I moved out when I was 18 years old.
I was raised LDS, and I've been married for 9 years and have 2 awesome kids.
Yes, we do. And y'all have asked and sort of demanded, and we have listened. So we have gone back and watched season 1, the entire season of Sister Wives. And that is what we're going to be reviewing today.
Yeah, so thank you all for watching our reviews on the most recent season. We had been told by some viewers, just start where it currently is, but all of you guys overwhelmingly helped us realize how far behind and how little we know. And we totally acknowledge that,
and thank you all for filling us in. A lot of great comments helping us understand a little bit of what we had missed.
We have learned so much. Obviously, we never claimed to have known a lot. We will say again in this is our first time ever viewing season 1.
Yep.
Okay, starting from the very beginning. We have seen the first couple episodes of season 18, and we're starting at the beginning. As a matter of fact, some people were like, oh, Google says this, or you can Google that. And we thought, you know what, if we're going to start at the beginning, we really should do like fresh eyes on Sister Wives and try not to Google it. So we're trying to kind of come at this from the very beginning with a fresh start.
Yeah, without any preconceived notions of anything. Just kind of start from scratch as though we are watching it with everyone when it was first released, I guess.
Yeah, and for those of you who are like new to our channel, the way that we're going at looking at Sister Wives is the fact that Sam was raised in polygamy and I was raised Mormon. So we're looking at this through like, why do they do what they do? What religious beliefs bring them to be in a polygamous family, and how that drives them in these relationships is kind of the angle that we're coming at it from.
Yeah.
And the things that stick out to us the most. Sam and I were talking about as we're watching this, he's like, how are you liking just watching it as a show? Because I like a lot of other reality TV, and said, you know, these first ones, there's really not a lot of drama yet, which is good.
Can you believe that? Sister Wives isn't enough drama for her.
But I said, I realized that it's because polygamy has no wow factor for me at this point.
She's been introduced to polygamy for such a long time. We've talked about it. We've talked with a lot of people about it. So polygamy is one of those things that's not new, or I guess so intriguing to us because we've been around it so much.
Yeah, and people are probably watching the show in 2010 when it started and saying like, oh my gosh, can you believe that there are these 3 women that are married to one guy? And like, even just that probably had such a big wow factor and such a big like intrigue. So that part hasn't intrigued me yet, but I do have to say that because we have watched a couple episodes of season 18 and we know where they end up, the intrigue is there for me in the beginning purely because I'm excited to see this road of how they get from here to there. Is like, I'm very intrigued. I'm all in, guys. We can do every season if you guys want.
Exactly. The unraveling of the show Sister Wives and the Brown family, because we kind of know where it ends up. Well, not completely. We haven't seen all of season 18 and there's still more coming out. So, you know, there's still more to come, but we're excited to go through all of this with you. So thank you all for encouraging us to do this. We look forward to it.
Yeah. So we'll get into it. Season 1. Wow. These happy polygamists that all these wives are this cohesive unit. They do talk about the fact that it is really still hard. It was a transition, but now they really have their groove. These 3 wives, Mary and Janelle and Christine, it seems like they have it together. They have it figured out. It seems like Cody has it figured out.
Right.
And they've cracked the code on polygamy.
Right. You know, it's funny because these three wives, the show wasn't going when Janelle came to the family. The show wasn't going when Christine joined the family. So it's easy for us to say, oh, when Christine came, it all blew up. Well,
you mean Robin?
Sorry, yes. When Robin came, it all blew up. Well, I mean, first of all, this may not be a very popular opinion here.
Oh, you're starting with this, huh?
But I don't know. Season 1 doesn't paint Robin as the bad guy. I'll just say that. We'll get more into it. But the show wasn't going when these other wives joined. So you say they had it together, but it's hard to know how difficult it was. I mean, it talks a little bit about it, but I imagine it was hard for the other women too when a new wife joined the family.
Yeah, well, they talked about the fact that, like, for the three of them to get their groove, it did take a long time. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we're looking at this, Christine, they said it's been married in the family 16 years, right? Uh-huh. So that's a long time of being able to adjust and get their groove. Yeah. It was interesting. In a lot of polygamous families, and we see this across the board, oftentimes the first wife is the most willing to accept other wives because they know what they're getting into right from the beginning. Not that the other two don't, because they're coming into plural families. Right. But there's something about that first wife. They normally have a very strong testimony of plural marriage. And they even joked in the very first season that Mary is in charge of mergers and acquisitions, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's funny to see in this case, they're talking about the fact that Mary is the one who first saw Robin.
And sort of encouraged Cody.
And said, hey, why don't you go dance with her? Really clicked with her, thought maybe she would be a good addition to our family.
So can I share an opinion here?
Yes. We're all here to hear your opinion.
Everybody wants this, right? When Mary and Cody were, what was this dance? Some evening, I don't really know exactly.
So just at a friend's house.
A friend's house. When Mary saw Robin over there dancing and said, hey, Cody, you should go dance with her. Can you all imagine with me what they're not telling us is maybe that night Cody and Mary were fighting. Oh. And Mary was like, well, why don't you just go dance with her? And maybe she didn't come off as that she didn't want it, but maybe at that moment she didn't really like Cody for whatever reason. And so she was like, hey, you know what? Go dance with her. Maybe it will make you happier in her mind. Maybe. You got to wonder.
She does say that she also clicked with Robin. Personally, she did.
That's true, but then later on she talks about how difficult it was when she joined the family.
Which is something that I wanted to bring up because it was so interesting that she was having these jealousy issues, and she talks about it with Cody when they had their 20th anniversary. And she talks about the fact that it was hard because she had these jealousy issues, and he's saying, well, you're the one who told me to start courting her to begin with. Mm-hmm. And Sam and I talked a little bit about this as well, that when you are raised to believe that plural marriage is the best spiritual way for you to be, and that that's the best way for you to come closer to God, there's going to be times where you might be more on board with that idea in that process. So in that moment, in that night, she might have been like, totally secure in her relationship. And all the wives talk about this at one point, that when you're completely secure in your relationship at that time, you're less jealous towards the other wives, right? Right. But if things are rocky, then it gets harder. So maybe at that moment, she's thinking of her spirituality, she's thinking of her belief system, and she's thinking, oh, that might be a good fit. Well, then the next day, maybe she changed her mind. Like maybe she's like, okay, well, I may have said that in that moment when it all seemed great and hunky-dory, but now this other piece of me, this human side of me, doesn't want to have to share again. And so there's a lot of history of women that are in polygamous relationships, especially within fundamental Mormonism, where they say that, where there's this piece, they're like torn. There's the two pieces of them. And a lot of times they'll say that they believe that the reason they're supposed to practice plural marriage is to overcome their tendencies as a human, their selfishness, to overcome themselves, to overcome this worldliness, to overcome the desire to have a man to yourself, right? That overcoming those things is what's going to make you more godlike or goddess-like. And so in this situation, I'm like, it's hard to just say that she doesn't have the right to go back and forth, because I think any plural wife's going to be torn in those two directions at any time. Right. So there's going to be times where she's super supportive, and there's going to be times where she's like, I don't think I like this now that my husband is dating somebody. Yeah,
and I go with the maybe she was in a fight. You go with the maybe she was feeling spiritual. Maybe what it all came down to is she was okay with it, like you said, and then realized how much attention Cody was giving her, and that's when the jealousy kicked in.
Yeah,
Because he did start giving her a lot of attention.
And we could tell from the scenes because we both grew up in southern Utah. He grew up in Short Creek and I grew up in St. George. We could tell when they said, oh, she lives a little far away. We're like, oh, we've been to that park. So she lived down in St. George, Washington area. Yeah. And so that is a long drive too. It's not like, oh, I'm going on a date night. I'm going to be away for a couple hours and no one's going to miss me. Like he had to travel far to court her, to go on these dates. Even the restaurants they were at, I'm like, oh, we know where that is.
Yeah, very familiar.
Really good food, sure. Very familiar. It was kind of weird to like watch them court in our neck of the woods. Yeah. But yeah, as another wife to actually have like him have to travel to go and to spend longer periods of time. I don't know. I don't envy that at all.
Right. Yeah. They right from the beginning of the show talked about how difficult it was that he was giving her so much attention. And interestingly, what you would normally hear from a relationship is, I wish he would just leave her alone. But the other wives wanted her to move closer just so that, yeah, you guys can continue dating, but we just want you closer so that he doesn't have to spend so much time away from the rest of us.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, Christine is pregnant, right? I cannot imagine being pregnant and having to share my husband. Well, I mean, I want to share no matter what, so it's a little bit different for me. But just in general, too, I feel like those moments when you're pregnant, there are times when, as a woman, you want your husband even more, right? And so to be sharing him during that time, Christine's very outspoken.
We've noticed that definitely throughout the first season. She's the
vocal one.
Yeah, she's the one that says whatever she feels.
Yes.
So we kind of like that about Christine. At least she just shares everything. She's very honest and open.
Yeah. One major thing in this whole season is just like Cody is like a bouncy little puppy. He is like as happy as can be, and he just kind of bounces along from wife to wife to house to house. And I was like, obviously,
just his walk, even the way he walks. I mean, his hair is bouncing. We're like, is he always just really excited, or is that just his walk? I don't know, but we noticed that right away.
Yeah, I don't know if that has to do, some people are trying to say in the comments like, oh, it was, because of Robin, or it's always been because of Robin. But even around his other wives and the other things, again, maybe an unpopular opinion, but in the first season, it seems like he really is trying and has this equal care for his wives of what you would hope for if someone was going to be living polygamy. Obviously, again, we know where it ends, but we're trying to like stay kind of neutral and just go off of what we were seeing in this first season. Right. So he does seem happy. The wives are going through what's very typical of jealousy of a new wife. We've seen it in Rockland Ranch. We've seen it in the FLDS. In almost every polygamous group, this seems like the very typical story of a new wife coming in, them all feeling like spiritually it was still a good choice. Like every single one of them agreed that, yes, we need to overcome this. We need to overcome our jealousy. We need to accept Robin. And again, that comes from them believing in the law of plural marriage. Yeah. But that can only go so far.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's still going to be those human, jealousies and things that come up no matter what you believe in. But you do have to keep in mind, and because I came from a background this way of the polygamy, Melissa asked me, it was something happened and she said, I can't even fathom what that would be like. And so we were talking about that. And for me, it's not normal now, not something that I would want, but it doesn't seem strange to see this guy trying to make it work between several wives. That just was something I grew up with. So you do have to keep in mind that though it's difficult to understand why anyone would live polygamy, from the outside, that's also a lot of them the way they were raised. I know that Janelle came in later, joined the AUB, I guess, from the mainstream LDS church. So she had to make that transition. But even coming from the LDS church has a background of polygamy. And it's still taught that maybe in the next life, So it's not like this is such a foreign concept to even Janelle. And so if you have a testimony that is what God wants you to do, then you just kind of have to make it work, and or at least try to make it work.
Yeah, and so much of it comes down to the spiritual nature, and they mentioned that a lot in this first season. Mary's talking about Robin saying she had a spiritual drive to her, right? And that Cody prayed and got a testimony about Robin, and this lifestyle rubs off your rough spots and makes you better. That's something Robin said. That's one thing throughout the whole first season too, is Robin really talking about her testimony of plural marriage and how badly she wants that. Like, she grew up in that lifestyle. She wants that for herself, for her children. The entire time she is talking about how badly she wants to be part of a family, and how she's happy to be the fourth wife because these other women have made Cody the man he is now in order to become, to be who he is. For her, she's already gotten to see, which we've heard other people, because we always ask in interviews with girls, we always ask, did you have a number wife that you wanted to be? And so Robin seems like she was perfectly happy with fourth. Christine had mentioned in season 1 that she wanted to be the third. She said, the first wife has like all the pressure, or all the pressure. The second wife is starting to like divide it a little bit, and then the third wife can just come in and just everything can be like a little bit easier.
There's already polygamy there, so there's no like change, adjustment. Yeah, it's interesting, Christine. I don't know why I didn't really expect it, but it seems like, or she even mentioned at some point that she enjoyed all of the media attention, which was kind of interesting. But she knew what she wanted. She came in and she, I don't know, just knew what she wanted and got what she wanted, which is interesting because now the way everything unfolded later on, everyone has their opinions, very strong opinions, might I add, about Robin. But during this first season, I really don't think that Robin had any bad intentions. I think she just wanted to have a polygamous family that she believed in, that she felt like she had to have, and a good place to raise her children as well.
And it seemed like her and Cody have a spark, right? Like, it's obvious that they fell in love, not just, it wasn't like an arranged marriage. You could tell that they fell in love and they really cared about each other. But yeah, I agree with you. In this first season, I was almost under the impression Robin was like bending over backwards a little bit much. Like, again, I can't fathom trying to come in as a fourth wife into a family, but later in the season, as she's getting ready for her wedding, and the amount, like the lengths she went to try to include these women and to make them feel good and comfortable, and to try to have them help out pick the flowers, help out pick the dress. And in my head, I told Sam, I was like, where is like her mom and sisters and family in this that should be the one? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was all for the cameras that she brought the wives, or it seemed sincere, like that she was really trying to make the wives feel like they were a part of the wedding and included. All of that kind of blew up in Cody's face when he admitted that he had helped her. Yeah, when he had helped her pick out the dress instead of the women. And that was like a really big deal, which I totally understand, like where all the other women were coming from. Because this entire time, as they're planning this big wedding and all of the big reception and nice wedding dress, and Cody's helping her pick out the wedding dress, and Christine and Janelle were saying that they believed coming into a plural marriage that it wasn't supposed to be this huge elaborate deal. It was about the marriage and the family, not about the wedding and the party afterwards or anything like that. So obviously it was a big difference for them seeing, and that made them feel insecure, which is totally understandable. You didn't care what I wore to our wedding, but you're gonna go pick out Robin's dress. Like, he made an oopsie. And to watch Robin, I also felt bad for Robin in that case, because I feel like it was the first big thing of like Cody, breaking her trust. Breaking her trust because she thought that it was gonna stay a secret between them that he helped. And I was like, at this point, I mean, the other girls helped her pick out her wedding cake. Like, couldn't she have picked out her wedding cake alone with her and Cody? So again, I feel like she went so far to try to involve them. And then she has one moment with just her and Cody to pick something out for the wedding, even though it was odd that it's her dress. But like, she has one thing, and then he tells them to make her look like a bad guy. And I'm like, wow, way to ruin that one. At least he admits he ruined it and apologized.
It's pretty clear that Cody makes some mistakes, even in season 1. And, I don't know. He's giving a lot of attention to Robin, which makes the other women feel jealous, rightfully so. And you're right. And with the dress thing, him saying that he helped Robin pick it, even though she didn't want him to tell the others that's a tricky situation to be in as well, because he's got 3, soon to be 4 wives. So it's one of those things where is it okay to keep secrets from these other three women that you're married to, even though one of your other wives is asking you to keep a secret? I don't know. It's a tough line. It's just such a unique perspective because of the way that their lifestyle is.
It was also, I felt like the cameras were kind of playing into his moments with Robin as well, which as seasons unfold, I'm going to be very curious to see how much of it is producers, how much of it is the camera people wanting that. You know, at one point when Christine has the baby and he's trying to run and check on everyone and grab some stuff, and he goes to Robin's house, gives her the update and everything, and as he's leaving, she follows him quickly. They close the door, you can tell they gave a quick kiss and he was on his way, and then the doors were open, the cameras were on, and it looked like they were making him like, no, you have to come back and kiss her. And he even said, you guys are making me look like I'm trying to kiss my girlfriend over being with my wife.
He said, it's so awkward.
This is so awkward. Yeah. And they were like forcing that instead of letting it be like a natural, okay, bye, quick peck, moving, going to my wife. And so you got to wonder, in season 18, I think it was Janelle said that there are things that are said or done that aren't meant to be, that should be personal, right? You don't expect for every word to come out of your mouth to be heard by other people. And I feel like in this sense too, you've got to wonder that everybody's watching it back and they're seeing these things, and how much and what moments the cameras are sharing. Is that going to affect his relationships with everyone else? Because they're going to see things that the cameras are trying to push on them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's that's the tricky thing. And some of you have commented that you don't like that this has turned into a big soap opera, type show because of all of the extra things that they've added to it along the way. But I'd have to agree that, man, it's hard to know how much of this stuff that they're showing us is forced upon this family, that you guys need to do this, you need to sit this way, you need to say these certain things. Yeah, like you said, Melissa, when they had him go back and kiss Robin again, for the cameras, that I was just, I don't know. It makes you wonder how much is added to just to add the drama.
Okay, again, I'm trying to stay off of Google because I'm a researcher and I'm trying to
it's hard for her.
keep these pure reactions as we go through these seasons. I'm trying to really look at each season on its own without too much outside information. But if someone wants to sneak a little tidbit of information into the comments for me, I am curious too if the show had any impact on the fact that they were courting for so long and that their marriage wasn't until 10 months later. Because as they both said they said at multiple points, it's very not normal in any type of polygamous religions to court for 10 months and then to move her up with her family before getting married, and then to have a couple more months of engagement up there. I don't know if that was so the families could get to know each other, but let's be real, were they going to back out then, after moving the family up? It seemed like it was already a done deal in both of their minds,
right,
and in the family's minds. And so I kind of wonder if that's something to do with production as well, so that they could get the footage that they wanted and be able to see the whole process and be able to, I don't know. It just seems a little sketchy to me that it took so long, because that did make it harder on everybody.
But all the wives and
Cody
and Robin, everyone,
yeah, everyone was saying the fact that normally it's a very quick thing and then you just get adjusted to having a new wife, and that's its own adjustment. But having a girlfriend around for that long was awful for, like I said, every single one of them. I felt bad for every single one of them in that case, because and then
the other wives even said, we don't mind that he's with, if she was his wife, we don't mind, but because they're just dating, they didn't like that.
Well, yeah, and separation of time, and then they're not allowed to be intimate at all before marriage, right? So it's okay, why does she need a whole night if you're not going to be intimate with her? Why is she getting the same amount of time as a wife gets? And then at the same time, Robin's obviously fallen in love with him and wants to be married to him. And so they're trying to spend time to get to know each other and sharing that time. I mean, that was a whole mess all on its own. And the idea that they kissed before they got married. And so the other wives were like, I didn't feel comfortable kissing, another woman's husband but it would be okay once they're married. So it was just a lot of mess for a long period of time. And I just wonder how much production had to do with that.
I think it was probably a lot, to be honest. Maybe some of you know. Another question I have is, were Robin and Cody dating before they knew that they were going to be filming?
It looked like they were dating before the show started.
It's what it seemed like, right? That they were dating beforehand. That's something I would like to know for sure, is when they started dating, did Cody already know that this show was happening, or did it come afterward?
Yeah, because we had some people in our comments saying that Robin was doing it all for the fame. And again, we're trying to stay objective here.
Right.
But in the first season, they said that they had already been dating for a few months before the first time we ever saw her on season 1, which makes me feel like this was already in the works.
Yeah, which makes me think, or at least believe, that Robin couldn't have known what was to come, when she chose to start dating or courting Cody.
Yeah.
So, good questions. But if someone has the answer, I'm sure some of you do. Some of you have all the answers, so feel free to comment.
Yeah.
But a lot happened in season 1, though. Wow, we needed that update.
We did. And obviously seeing Robin's wedding, everything that went into it, we did watch the specials afterward. Both the regular special of them kind of going over the things that had happened in season 1, and we did watch the honeymoon special because we thought there's got to be nuggets in here. And there was. My word. Because
a lot, yeah.
The 11 days. Okay. So it comes up and it's like they're on their honeymoon for 11 days. And I pause and I look at Sam and I was like, that seems kind of long for a honeymoon for anyone, let alone people who have kids. And then we click play. It's like all the wives, 11 days, really 11 days. And I was like, I hear you. I don't know. I feel like a week is typical for most couples. If you don't have children, up to 2 weeks. But all the people that I know that had children when they got married, they're either remarriage or after divorce or anything like that, they typically have it be shorter because leaving your kids for that long of a time period would be hard. So leaving 16 kids to go on an 11-day honeymoon, that did seem a little weird.
It did, yeah, and especially because the other wives did not get that much time. They had 3 days or 4 days or something, as they said. So I can also see that causing some issues right away. And both Cody and Robin said that they needed that much time.
Yeah, and even Mary talks about the fact that her 20th anniversary, they got to go on a trip and it was for 3 days. And so it made her feel like this new marriage deserved so much more than the fact that she had been married to him for 20 years. And that made her sad. I mean, Mary throughout the whole thing, it's sad to see about her infertility and the kind of stock and weight, obviously, that both of them had on that, as well as their 20th anniversary. She's almost 40, and he's like, for a gift, how about we do IVF, right? So she knows it's important to him. She feels like her time's up. I felt really bad for Mary in that sense of it, the infertility and the way that, they all said at the end too, they know what's coming now that there's another wife. There's going to be more babies. And that's what's coming next because that's a huge part of living a polygamous lifestyle.
Right, yeah. The infertility for a fundamentalist Mormon is more than just seeing the other women have a lot of children and wanting that. It's more than that. The fundamentalist Mormon belief is that you should have a lot of children. And that's why Mary keeps mentioning, I always thought that I would have a lot of children. That's what I guess you could say that's what was expected of her.
Yeah,
as a
that's
girl
what she desired too.
Yeah.
She wanted to have 8 kids, and then now to be at this point, I can't imagine how hard. I thought it was sweet of Christine to say that whenever she found out she was pregnant, she would always tell Mary first and try to be sensitive to that. But again, that's going to be. I can only imagine the way it would be hard and the jealousy of if you've been married to someone for 20 years. Now, 20 years is a mark that I've seen a lot of people get divorces at 20 years. Your kids are growing up. People grow apart or they don't stay connected through having young kids and raising their children. And I feel like when Mary said, they've been having rough patches and a hard time, I feel like that's really, really typical at 20 years. You see that a lot.
You do.
And so to have your husband at 20 years get a new wife that's going to be giving him fresh babies, I can't even fathom how hard that would be.
No, it's so hard. It's so hard. And it's funny because Well, the whole point of the show originally was to show that the polygamous lifestyle can be a great thing and that they're just another happy big family, right? And it's interesting to hear Cody so many times try to talk about how it's not that different, and it's kind of normal.
Like on the honeymoon,
like
all these
zoo.
animals are all these animals are polygamous. Go figure that other things are.
The lions have multiple. The lion has multiple lionesses and things, and so he kind of pokes fun at the fact that it's just natural and normal. It's kind of going along those lines. Something that was said here that I don't know. It was kind of a key moment in one of the episodes was when Mary asked Cody, "How would you feel if I was interested in another man?" And his response to that, basically, he couldn't even think about that. That would make him too angry and sad. But he said something like, "But that is just so against nature and God's will," or something like.
That's what he said. He said the vulgarity, because I remember that word.
That's
the vulgarity of the idea of you being with two men is so vulgar, and it's against God's will and against nature.
Yeah.
And I was like, all she's wanting is all she was asking for was some sympathy for her situation. Yeah. She's like, can you understand for 1 second, put yourself in my shoes and understand that this is hard. That's all she's asking for. And the fact that he responds to her that would be unnatural and unworthy of even having him think about it. He wouldn't even want to think about that.
Right.
It'd be so awful.
Yeah, and that's something that, according to his religion and his beliefs, I mean, that's exactly what he's taught. It is God's will, according to them, that a man should have multiple wives. And so he was kind of just sharing what he religiously believes, but at the same time, when you have a wife that wants you to understand what she's going through, and so she tries to put it in a way like that would make you really think. And instead of him saying something like, I can only imagine, I'm so sorry, and try, I don't know, not that he can fix it at this point, but at least try to be understanding instead of say something like, oh, how dare you even think that type of thing. That's so wrong, when it's okay for him to have some multiple wives.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like he answered it or went about it incorrectly, I guess. Yeah,
and there's definitely, he has those moments in like a lot of episodes where I'm just like, the words that are coming out of your mouth, like if you really are thinking this way, that's just rough for these women, right? Like, made me feel, and Robin's jumping right in, so it's like, join the, as she called it, the brown chaos. The brown chaos is a little different, right? As they're getting together all the kids to go see Christine's new baby, Truly, which was so cute and so sweet that they all as a family did make it a big deal. That was super cool. But it was interesting to say the least.
Speaking of Cody, as we were watching this season, would it be safe to say that everyone has a Cody in their lives? Seriously, if you think about it for a second, anyone, who's the Cody in your life? I feel like there's someone like that, if this person that that is your Cody, if he was put on television, I know someone, I can think of someone right now that would be a Cody if he was put behind a camera.
We're thinking of the same person.
Yeah.
I know exactly. I know exactly who you're thinking of.
So it's easy to just hate on Cody, but we all know that person that if a camera was put on them full time, that they would turn into exactly what Cody is.
Yeah, and they would have their foot in their mouth all the time.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So, not saying that I have sympathy for him. I'm just saying that we all know that person.
And
you're not thinking of me, are you? No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely not. Nope. Anyway, that is our season 1 recap. We definitely got to know all of them so much better, understanding a lot more of where they stand in the beginning, even seeing the transition in their beliefs and their belief system into why they started this family in the first place, why Robin is entering. And if you guys want to keep watching and keep hearing more about our thoughts on these other seasons, please like and subscribe, because we will keep it coming if that is what you guys want. We just want to give our awesome viewers and community what they want.
Yes, and thank you all so much for all of the support and love. We really do feel it, and we really do appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Talk to y'all soon.